Hi, my name's Angus and welcome to SISU. Now, I started this channel several years ago and fundamentally did nothing with it. And the reason for why is I wanted to teach, coach and speak to resilience. And when I asked myself the question, what is resilience? I kind of stopped because I realized I didn't have an answer. So the purpose of this video is to tell you what the SISU channel is all about and why it's worth being here. So first up, what is SISU? So SISU is a Finnish trait, and it's the deepest form of resilience. It's been kind of cultified, if you like. There's a couple of movies come out recently called SISU, and for those of you who are historians and you go back to the Finnish Winter War against the Soviet Russian army, you can get an understanding of the depth of what it might mean. But there's a very simple explanation. SISU is the second wind of resilience, where grit and determination end, SISU begins. So that's fundamentally what it is. And what this channel is an exploration of resilience. So I've been a coach for 20 years. I've coached athletes, mainly rugby athletes, from countries all over the world, all hemispheres, multiple different languages, different creeds and faiths. I've also coached executives, I've coached veterans in transition, I've coached people transitioning from cultures, so not just geographical or regional cultures, but corporate cultures, and running up to and post-COVID. Whilst I enjoyed coaching people, what I discovered is how people struggle in many aspects of their life. And part of the reason for why, particularly here in North America, but also I believe in the UK, we have two very key, what I say are resiliency cancers. Now that seems like a strong word, but FOMO and anxiety. Anxiety is a product of FOMO. FOMO is perpetuated by the need for more. And these two things alone really undermine our individual and personal resilience. Now, there's many other ways, depending on what country you live in, there's many other ways to describe FOMO, but I'm putting those out there out front because they were some of the drivers for me building this channel, outside of wanting to coach. Resilience as an extension of my career at this age. So what is SISU? SISU is a form of resilience. It's the second wind of that very trait. And as I just said, grit and determination end. That's when SISU begins. Now, how do I know that? Well, I've walked that walk, not just been a coach. I've been more than a coach. You know, when I was younger, I grew up in a very blue-collar family. Okay, in one of those environments where you're kind of told how your life is going to be for the next 40 years, stay in your lane and all that business. And I chose not to. I chose to step out of my lane and test myself in some of the harshest environments. So I've been an athlete, a rugby athlete. I love playing rugby. I think it's one of the greatest sports, but it isn't the only sport. But because of rugby, I started studying body mechanics, right? And how our functional movement impacts what we do in our life. The fitness industry became a trend with peaks and troughs, but I've stayed on this path for now, the endurance path, right? Physical endurance for close on 30 years, right? What is physical endurance and what can you do? I'm not a special forces guy, but I have done some military service. Okay, I don't even see myself as a special person. In fact, that's the very authenticity of what I'm going to coach you on the SISU channel, is the very fact that I'm a very normal person from a very normal background, just have this mindset of curiosity and a wee bit of defiance of not accepting what we're told we should do in life. So get out there, be curious, get uncomfortable and push your boundaries. So because of that, I've walked across the Alps, walked out of a blizzard into from France into Italy. I've walked across the desert, the Taklamakan Desert in China, where it was the hottest peak of one given day was 65 degrees Celsius. So that's well over 140 Fahrenheit. That's super hot. And that wasn't just one day, that was multiple days on a 250 kilometer race. I've done a 100k march through the mountains in Hong Kong. If you don't realize there's mountains there, go and check it out. But equally, it's not just about that. There's mental and emotional endurance. And I've worked in some very vulnerable environments. So, things like, have you been held up at gunpoint? That's not something you expect to do in your life. That's not something you're trained for at school. And so, I've crossed Russia, I've crossed China, both those countries, one period of which was on a train full of smugglers. And you just suddenly start discovering different aspects of life. And mentally and emotionally, these are not super physical environments, but how do you engage with the people around you? And how do you survive those interactions? With my time in the Navy, I've sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and through the Mediterranean all the way down to the Arabian Gulf. But then off the spin-off from there, I've dived. I've been diving in the Indian Ocean, out and around the Philippines, through Thailand, and in the Arabian Gulf. And diving is another thing. And the reason I'm putting these things out there is not just to validate why I can authentically speak to resilience. Remember, a blue-collar kid growing up in a very normal family, red brick environment in South London, who had nothing, right? But a very fundamental basic education. And talking to you today, I've crossed the whole world. I've been in the Arctic Circle, sailed across oceans and seas. Talking to you today as a byproduct of that, I'm now a qualified Marine captain with the US Coast Guard. And what I discovered on this journey is many things we're told in society are very frail. They're flawed. Civility is a polished veneer in many cases for many people. And sometimes in the most well-developed societies, we can be the least civilized of people. And sometimes in the least developed societies, we can find the most resilient and authentic of people. There's an old adage, never judge a book by its cover. And that's really, really important, I think, for anyone's personal resiliency, because you need to really be curious about what are you doing and why are you doing it and what's your purpose in life. Anyway, there's a lot of analogy in there, but that's just a snapshot of some of my background. I love coaching. After COVID, I realized that, through feedback, genuinely sourced feedback, I had the capacity and the capability to help people change their life, help people become more resilient, help organizations and teams strengthen. And so I kind of specialize in that area, is organizational resiliency, team resiliency, individual resiliency, specifically people in leadership roles, leadership resiliency, but also the transition if you're going from junior to senior leader to executive, if you're like coming out of the military and transferring into civvy, right? Or if you've been a combat vet and you're trying to transition into how to manage just life as it is, or athletes trying to grow into their programs and trying to aspire. So I've trained athletes up to what I call a pre-Olympic standard, getting up there, getting ready for that next platform of competition. And also athletes like veterans coming out of their environments and going back out of their bubble and going back into civil life. All of these things, all of these pressures that we have impact our life in many, many ways, and have the ability to, if we're not carefully managed and looked after, undermine our own personal resiliency. So I've designed a program now, thanks to all that experience, called the SISU Way. And I've just launched a book. Yeah, a wee bit of it's not really a hard sell, a wee bit of a sell, called SISU, a series of epic adventures, which you can find if you follow me on social media, here on YouTube or Insta or LinkedIn. That will give you a deeper insight into some of the things I've done, and which will validate whilst I'm coaching here. So I've developed this program, and I will be sharing some of the program here on this channel for you. So please subscribe. And down below, that's not a thumbs down, by the way, that's a pointer to subscribe, because what we're going to explore is mental resiliency, emotional resiliency, spiritual resiliency, as well as physical resiliency. So it's a confluence of energies, a confluence of concepts, and fundamentally using technology to benefit anyone who kind of needs help. Right? And that's where I'm at today in the world and in my career. I want to help people. There's so many people today for whom wellness coaching is out of reach, proper medical or healthcare is out of reach, financial assistance is out of reach, and sometimes we feel like we've fallen through the fabric of society. We're on our own, and I can empathize with that. I've walked that walk. So the SISU channel here, is an authentic place to come and learn, to come and understand. If you want to reach out and get some coaching, please do. But it's really about authentic resiliency. And I've got my buddy Kincaid in the background, who I've partnered with on this program, because coming back to what I was saying, I started this in COVID and asked the question, what is resiliency? And since then, I've written a book and I've studied and what is it? And now designed the program. In the one piece that was missing in this jigsaw is I can speak to experience, but I need someone as a partner who can bring academic rigor. And that's my buddy Kincaid. So you might not see him on here, but please know he's in the background. Super super valuable in what he brings to the table, because everything I throw out before I put it on here, he's researched it. He's brought some academic rigor, and he'll check in and look out for articles that support what we're trying to deliver here. And if I do share something with you, part of our authenticity promise is to let you know we've researched this. It's not just Angus did this or Angus said this. We've researched the impact of this in real life. Okay, and that's a critical part of the SISU channel, in real life. There's a lot of influence out there. Okay, and there's a lot of influences. As soon as I see someone saying, oh, I discovered this product and now I'm this amazing person, to me, that's no longer authentic. Okay. Special forces people have achieved many, many things, and there's some real heroes. There's many people out there much more brave than me, done crazier things than I've done in life. And they deserve the recognition for that, particularly if they've done it in the service of a purpose or a cause that they believe in. Okay, but the intersection of that with real life is sometimes hard to draw down from or create empathy with. So one of our pledges in the SISU program and the SISU channel is to be as authentic as we can and kind of say, well, here's a life hack. Here's how you could or should or would apply this in real life. That's what we do. If we do put an article up or promote something, it's because it's something we've discovered and we think, as bioscience evolves, this is worth reading. So most things we'll put out will not be a sell. Obviously, I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow me on Substack, LinkedIn or Instagram. And you can find all the links in the YouTube channel here below. And if you're in any other social media that this goes out on, you can find all the links of where to follow us. Obviously, I'd love you to buy my book, but that's a choice. I'm not really going to sell it, but I'm going to let you know it's out there. But fundamentally, coming back around, if we tell you about something here, We don't have any sponsors. We're bootstrapping this whole business. And so it's something we've researched, we believe in, and we want to share it with you as a form of accessible education that might help you make more informed or better decisions in your life. Other than that, enjoy the SISU journey. SISU, a form of resilience. We've developed a program called the SISU Way. We'll come to more on that later. But for now, my name's Angus. I'm the founder of the SISU Way. I've walked the walk. And the last piece I want to share with you, this isn't cultural appropriation. On my mother's side, I'm Finnish. Okay, so I've dug really deep into my own health and well-being, my own sense of cultural identity. And if you ever get the chance to go to Finland, it's one of the most beautiful countries out there, and with a very interesting history in culture and population. But the reason why I packaged up this in the SISU blanket is not just because of my own maternal heritage, but when I visited Finland this year and I was walking around and it was minus 26 degrees Celsius outside and I was in the snow and the wind was biting and I was just talking to the Finns. And one thing Finns have that many other countries don't have is just this sense of well-being and purpose within their own natural environment. To be in a country where it feels like there's an absence of anxiety and an absence of FOMO is just unbelievable feeling. So, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this channel. I will try and keep regular media updates and dropping content and learning. But, you know, please read, please share, please subscribe, and please ask questions. Please be curious. This is meant to be a place of learning, and welcome to SISU. See you on the other side.